We only have about 20 minutes or so maybe I'll start with a couple questions and then we'll throw it to the audience and take a couple questions there. So maybe while this is getting, I think we're good to go. Fine. Thank you. All right. So thank you very much for that. Amazing, as always. So it seems like there's so much innovation taking place right now in AI. What are some of the hard problems that haven't been solved? And maybe you can share with us, why those are hard problems.
Well, I mean, we can solve really anything if we have either the computational density between the input and the output. So I thought radiology would be a good example. It had not been done. And then 2 weeks later, it's done and it defeats every radiologist. And we also can actually track humans and find out what humans find out, even if they're not posted in a book. So we're doing this in every field. I thought this flu vaccine was very significant because it's really the very beginning of using a biology simulator. I mean, that's really the key. Biology takes forever. You hand in a run, and a year and a half later, you get back results. We can't make progress that way. If we could really simulate biology, we could use the simulator to actually figure out what the correct answer is and then actually test it within hours. And that was actually done in this flu vaccine. And that's going to be the nature of biology in this decade.
So much of really at the core, it comes down to computational power.
Yes, I mean, these simulators are not that complicated. I have a picture of it in my book. It's one layer, but you can do 121 layers in the same manner. You really need enough computation, and a lot of power has gone into figuring out how to provide that computation and providing computation that's not actually general computation, but really geared towards this type of convolutional neural net.
So one of the things we've been talking a lot about since yesterday is kind of humans, right? It's kind of come down to individuals to make so much of this change. And at some point, it seems like we're going to reach a point where the average human being's ability to adapt to exponential change is going to be surpassed. If that happens, what happens? How are we going to know? And then how do we address that?
It's actually going to happen pretty soon.
Great.
And by 2029, I believe computers will do everything that humans can do. And we're going to have to do what we've done with every other technology. And that's really why I started my address that way, which is we go beyond what we can do. So, I mean, a 10-year-old walking down the street can access all of human knowledge. And that wasn't true 10 years ago, certainly not 20 years ago. And we're going to actually extend our ability to do this. Now, we can do it with handheld devices or with being able to see the world through lenses and see additional types of information that way. But really, we want to actually extend our human neocortex to take advantage of this. And we really only have to actually access the top layers of the neural net. The neural net is in layers. It's about 100 layers, but the top layers are the ones we need to extend. As I mentioned, it's a diagonal, so that's actually fairly small. Now, what's being done today, it's not even clear we're accessing the neocortex at all. So there's a lot of work that has to be done on this. There's some concern that going into the brain requires a lot of regulation. Because if you have something that operates in your hand, there's really actually no regulation. I mean, you can just do work on that and make that better and better. Going into the brain requires a great deal of regulation, and the brain is probably the most sensitive organ that we have. So some people are saying, well, that'll happen, but maybe it'll be 2040s, not 2030s. Then we'll have a 10-year gap, in which your question actually makes sense. But my feeling is we will actually do it by the 2030s.
So in many ways, it seems to me like technology is doing just fine, right? There's incredible acceleration and breakthroughs that are taking place. But in some ways, humans are kind of stuck. And we've talked about mindset as being such an important thing that needs to happen. People need to shift their way of thinking to really take advantage and to be able to leverage technology to realize the world of abundance that could be. How do you think about that, about mindset and about helping humans get to a place where, whether technology plays that role or there's other things that play that role that can help us really get to a world of abundance?
Well, I mean, I think people's views are changing, and despite all the negative things we hear about social networks, we're actually finding out a lot about what computers can do and are using that. So I think human beings are changing. And generally, we accept good news very readily. People are upset. Gee, what if we greatly extend human life and death is important to give life meaning? But actually, when we actually overcome a particular disease, everybody's happy about it. And it's not difficult to actually accept that. Computers are doing a lot of the things that we don't really want to do, and freeing us up to do things that are more creative. It does become a problem when computers can actually do everything that humans can do far greater than humans. But I think we'll do what we've done with every other technology, is extend our own capabilities.
You think we'll shift our mindset to be able to really, truly leverage them?
Yeah, I think we accept good news actually quite readily.
Yeah, okay, that's encouraging. All right, well, why don't we throw it out to the audience here? I would ask if you raise your hand, we'll have a mic runner come to you. If you could hold it to one question and really just make it a question, that would be terrific. Anyone want to start things off? Mic runner, I'll leave it to the mic runners to pick who they're closest to and keep this moving. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm Wolfgang Fengler from the World Bank. I had a simple question around computational power. You mentioned chess. Why has it not been solved yet? Why don't we know that white wins or black can take a draw? And what is your prediction that it will be solved?
For which game are you talking about?
Chess.
Chess.
So I'm not sure what your question is. I mean,
my question is, why has it not been solved, right? Solved means, why is there no safe strategy? I know the computer is stronger than the human, but why don't we know yet if white wins or black can force a draw?
not really sure what your question is. There is, if you're asking about why a particular rule is, a particular play is being made, there's actually a lot of work being done to try to figure out how that works. And we're actually, but it's difficult to know when the best human who plays chess can't understand the best move because it's way beyond its own capabilities. So it's hard to actually explain why that move is made.
All right. Next question. Mic runner.
Good morning.
So hi, I'm Amy Nee, GSP 12. So why do you specifically choose a female character in your book? Previously in your film as well, and then also this time Danielle, which also is a child book and using illustration, and also based on your invention in music, I'm very curious to hear what is your thinking in terms of like creativity and AI, because that's probably one of the most difficult code to crack. Like, how do you create creativity in AI and no buzz?
Well, it's a good question. I'm not sure I have a satisfactory answer, but I'll give you a little bit of background from my own history. My family's actually been very involved with female rights going back to the mid-19th century. So in 1868, my mother's mother's mother created the first school in Europe that provided higher education for girls. So in 1868, if you were lucky to get any education at all as a girl, it went through at most 9th grade. This went from kindergarten to 14th grade. And she went around Europe lecturing on the importance of educating women. And then her daughter, my grandmother, became an exemplar of her